So this is a recap and post-race review of my race at Outlaw Half Holkham, which has been probably one of my favourite races of all time. I won it back in 2017, so yeah, it's good to be back there after so many years. Okay, so we are back at Holkham Hall. So training's been going really well. I had the training camp in Lanzarote, which was basically just sort of regaining some base endurance fitness, taking the opportunity to make the most of the good weather out there, getting some long rides in. Off the back of that, I raced at the Eton PTO supported race, which was actually a really good race, apart from I had a mechanical issue on the bike, but other than that, it was a solid performance for me. And then off of that, I sort of kept training through with the aim of either racing Ironman UK or Outlaw Half Holkham this weekend. It's unfortunate both races were on the same weekend, but I had to pick between the two. At the point of making my decision, it was still undecided whether Lucy would race Holkham, but she decided that if she was going to race, she definitely would be racing at Holkham, and that kind of lent me towards thinking, well, it'd just be so much simpler if we were both racing at the same venue. It's a race that, as I say, it's probably one of my favourite 70.3 distances. It's a really challenging course, particularly on the run. The bike course is good, it's quite rolling, and the swim course is also just stunning in the location. It's all within the grounds of the Holkham Hall estate. So yeah, it's a really great race. Don't get me wrong, I love Ironman UK. It's got a special place in my heart. It was my first ever Ironman, and I definitely will go back there one day. But for me this year, I think with where I'm at, a 70.3 distance was the right decision to make.
Yeah, been dropped. Right. Practice run. Yeah, T2.
We were watching you.
Yeah, but you're going to have everyone watching you when it's race day. Right, that's it, yeah.
That's it. This one's super tight. Well, loose the worst because it's loose.
Right, and go.
Not too bad.
Good run?
Very good run.
Feeling ready?
Nice. 1k on, 1k off. We did. I was meant to hit 340 per kilometre, but it was more like 320, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, nice, yeah.
which is always good on race week, running quicker than you want to and feeling easy. So, very good.
Like start here and then that's it, you started. Yeah.
That must be where your chip registers, yeah.
We got there, have a look. It's the 1,000,001 things that you need for a triathlon.
Good?
Yeah, I think so.
Look, the sun's out.
What is it? What's that?
Red ball in the sky.
First 20 odd miles, once you get out of the estate, you'll be into a headwind.
Yeah.
So it's worth pressing hard into that.
Yeah.
And then once we turn at the far corner, you have a cross town fast roads.
Okay, yeah.
So you're better off going down to the power in the first half.
Yeah, so the race went brilliantly overall. It was a time trial format to begin with on the swim, so we didn't start as a mass start, which made it quite difficult to sort of judge where you were in the race overall.
Let's go, Reece!
I had a little bit of a gap between me and the front group who went off before me. I managed to catch them initially in the first 200 metres or so, and I was sort of just hanging onto their feet, but because I'd spent so much energy catching them up in the initial 200 or 300 metres, I was sort of in the red, and I made a conscious decision that actually I can't maintain the pace that they're swimming at having just caught them. So I had to unfortunately yield, let them go, and then I was just sort of swimming on my own for a huge proportion of the swim until eventually someone who went off 5 seconds behind me caught me, and then we was just swimming together. Had a decent transition, got onto the bike, and it was me and a fellow British triathlete called Sam Wade riding together for pretty much 70 odd K, taking a few turns on the front. Sam was riding really, really well, and I was just trying to take my turn whenever I could. Conscious of the fact that there was people up the road, but also well aware there was people behind us. Then came the steam train of about 7 or 8 athletes. I'd averaged about 320 watts just riding with Sam. And then when the group of 7 people caught us, the speed went through the roof, but the watts went right down. Like I was probably like 220 watts. There's 100 watts difference riding in that group. And it just sort of amazes me that the effort level required to stay in a group of that people, like when there's a 12-meter gap, is just so much less than when you're riding honestly together. Huge amount of pressure has been put on race organisers to make the pro race a 20-meter draft zone, and I sort of echo those comments. It's just a different ball game. Like Eton, for example, was a 20-meter draft zone, and I think that was such an honest race. Challenged Miami, which I took part on earlier in this year. Challenged Daytona was a 20-meter draft zone. But when it's 12 meters and you've got a big group of people, the effort level is so much less when you're sat in that pack that I think it's just totally changes the dynamic of the race. So I understand that can be really difficult on courses where we overlap with age groupers or it's a lapped course, but I think the sport and the speeds that we're riding at nowadays has kind of moved on, and it definitely needs a review. Really happy with the overall performance on the bike. As I say, the first 70 odd K was my best ever numbers at 320 odd watts. Came into transition 2, felt a little bit disorientated, always feel a little bit unsteady on the feet as you get off the bike. And it doesn't help at Holkham, you literally come out of transition and you head up this massive long hill that just doesn't seem to ever end. So yeah, it took me about 3K to find my feet, settle down, get some nutrition in me. Then after that, I started to pick off a few people in front of me. I wasn't entirely sure where I was in the overall race because, as I say, we started on a staggered start. So some of the people behind me could theoretically have been in front of me, but I was just concentrating on my own race at that point. Actually, it was a really good run performance by my standards. It had just under 200 meters of elevation, and pretty much all of the technical downhill bits were through a woodland area. So the new super shoes weren't that great through there. You're kind of like heavy on your feet and just trying to find your flat bit of ground. So it was by no means a fast run, but actually came off with a 1:18, and it was good enough on the day for, I'm not entirely sure, but 6th or 5th pro and 6th or 7th overall. Fellow British athlete called Harry Palmer was an age grouper, and he actually came 4th overall, I believe. And for some crazy reason, he still has not been granted his pro triathlon license, which, yeah, a comment for another day. But if you haven't watched his YouTube video, definitely worth checking it out. 4 years ago, I did the same course, slightly different on the bike, but pretty much the same course, and was 17 minutes slower, and that was good enough for first on the day. So 5 years on and 17 minutes quicker, and sort of not even in the top 5. So it's just amazing how much the sport has really moved on in the last few years. I'm making good progress, but the progress of the sport seems to be slightly faster paced than the progress that I can make. But all in all, I'm really, really happy with the performance, and it was just a brilliant weekend of racing. It's finally good to get a race under my belt where stuff doesn't go wrong. So yeah, it's been a long time coming, but really happy with that.
Really happy because I ran a 1:18.04 and Lucy ran a 1:18.05 in Denmark last week, so I beat her by 1 second, although to be fair, mine was quite a significantly more hilly course, so I'll take that.
So yeah, my overall aim of this year was to get at least 3 good races under my belt. I've sort of had an alright race at Eton. I actually had a very good race by my standard, but I had a mechanical on the bike which cost me a hell of a lot of points. Some of you who follow me on Twitter will know that I'm not a fan of the current PTO point system. I think it urgently needs a review, but as it currently stands, I think that we've just got to go with it, and I didn't get very good points for that race, so I'm disregarding that as one of my good 3 races. The points for Holkham are yet to come out, but I'm hoping that will be one of my 3. And the reason I'm saying 3 is it's your best 3 results of the year that count, so you need 3 good results. So I've got 1 out of 3, which means I definitely need to do at least 2 more good races this season. I think that I'm probably going to carry on down the route of 70.3 distances just because I can get more frequently races in. I've been quite race intensive for the last month, so I'll take a very, very short rest, rebuild, and race again towards the end of the season. I know that my running has progressed, but it's still by no means up there with the best of the runners. My swim has been improved quite a lot recently. I always train with Lucy, and obviously her swim has just gone through the roof since the Olympic trials, so I think that's lifted my swim up. Still think I need to just be a tiny little bit more, or not so much faster, because I've got the, you know, I'm pretty much always the first person to the first buoy just because of my background as a sprint swimmer, but I'm not able to then relax into my stroke and swim at the pace that I'm perhaps capable of. So yeah, there's loads and loads of things I need to work on, but first of all, just need to take a little bit of a rest, recoup, and recalibrate for the rest of the season. So obviously with Lucy's race schedule, it's always quite a unique thing to try and fit my race schedule around hers. I find that I'm almost a little bit too involved with her racing for me to fully concentrate on my racing. Miami was a good example. Basically, I was in really, really good shape for that, and moments before my race was due to start, I'd learned that Lucy had got some penalty on the bike, and then literally moments before I was getting in the water, I heard that Lucy had fallen off. It turns out it was her dismount. Thankfully she was fine, but all I'd heard was she's fallen off. So obviously I was like, oh no, like what's happened? Is she all right? Has she broken bones? So all these things going on in my mind before the race. Hence why we've decided, actually, it's probably better if we just race separately. And also actually, I did a race on Wednesday at Vicky Park 5K. It was just a training run, but it was for you who are interested in my 5K progress. I'm going to make a separate video on that soon, because I know I've been teased a lot about why I didn't do it, but yes, I've actually now broken my PB on the road during a training session, so I should be on for a PB on the track, and I will eventually get around to doing it. Maybe it'll be a year later. How quick can you get in a year? But yeah, there's been some good progress on my running for sure this year. So yeah, massive thank you for all of you for watching, tuning in to our channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Also thanks to my good friend Adam for putting us up for the weekend. He's spoilt us rotten with all of the cooking and cleaning that he's been doing for us, so thank you so much for that.
And a big thank you to Outlaw and PTO for putting on a fantastic event, and also to PTO for supporting the event, making it into a prize purse payday for us professionals. This race schedule for this period has been really